Kamusta ka po, Sharks, or hello, Sharks. My name is Jake DeLeon. I'm from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., and I'm the founder of Fila Manila. I am a first-generation Filipino-American immigrant. Now, in my case, that means I was born in the Philippines and raised in the exotic land of New Jersey. Sharks, did you know that Filipinos are the third largest Asian American community? And our cuisine is the fastest growing in the United States, yet there's almost zero representation of our delicious food in most grocery stores. Until today. At Fila Manila, we're here to represent the next generation of Filipino-American flavors. We're starting this journey with 3 award-winning product lines inspired by iconic Filipino flavors. We want to bring our delicious food in every household in America, and so we're seeking $250,000 in exchange for 5% equity in my business. Now, who wants to join us at the kitchen table and help bring delicious and profitable representation of delicious food and culture to the rest of the country? Thank you. I prepared.
Welcome, IP family, to another episode of commenting on the latest and greatest Shark Tank episode. I am Dave, and I'm almost a 10-year intellectual property attorney dealing with everything from trademarks to patents to copyrights to trade secrets and so much more. And this actually is a pretty interesting one, and I kind of hesitated on whether or not I wanted to do this one, but I thought it was some good points that I'll be able to bring you guys as it relates to IP on this one. The 3 things that I look for when kind of looking at the pitches is how simple is the product, how effective is it, and what's the market like? Is it a market that's saturated? Is it a market that is untapped? And if it is a market, is it a large market or a market that not as very large? Because if so, that's going to kind of affect how profitable you can be with your business. Obviously, if you have a big market, then the more money you'll be able to make. If it's a market or just barely a market, then even though you have a simple and effective product, then it's still okay. You may make a little bit of money, but not nearly as much as if you would be able to if you had a pretty big market. So let's kind of get back to it and kind of see what these guys think of the crazy offer. It seems like the more and more I watch this stuff, the offers get kind of larger and larger as far as kind of what they're valuing the company at. So let's see if the sales back that, and let's see if we can find an intellectual property that may be kind of involved with this one.
Prepared a full course Filipino meal for you using all the
I've never had
Filipino
a
products.
Filipino meal.
For starters, we have our banana ketchup served with fries. Now, banana ketchup is a nostalgic Filipino condiment made from bananas, not tomatoes.
Yeah.
So it's half the calories,
Wow, that's really good.
half the sugar, and half the carbs of tomato ketchup.
I like that spice
Now, for
in
our
it.
2 entrees, we have our chicken adobo. Adobo is the unofficial national dish of the Philippines. We're really delicious, umami, savory, flavor-bursting treats.
Super tasty.
Oh, wow.
Our second entree is our kare-kare, and we prepared it with shrimp. Kare-kare is kind of the Filipino variation of a peanut sauce.
Going back to the Filipino adobo, because it's really good.
Thank you.
It's
What
phenomenal.
happened before? Like, you obviously added these chives and the rice. Other than that, is this straight out of the pot? You just heat it up and put it here?
Wow.
With
Yeah, for
chicken,
sure.
with
So
shredded chicken, right?
The adobo and the kare-kare are actually cooking sauces. So how you enjoy it is you add your protein and your veggies of choice, simmer it, and you have an instant meal solution at home. And lastly, for dessert, we have our ube spread. Now, ube is a purple yam indigenous to the Philippines. So we combine it with coconut for delicious, tropical,
That's pretty good.
luxurious treats.
Wow.
This stuff's
The
amazing.
kare-kare is delicious.
You're valuing your business at $5 million. That's because you have a lot of sales, right?
Well, let me tell you a bit about
Oh,
the journey
uh-oh.
so far, in my journey. Yeah, so
That's not always
Yeah.
a good answer.
For sure.
Let me ask you
Tell
about
us
hear me
about
out,
you.
hear me out,
About
please.
you.
So my earliest memory in the food business was helping my mom make Filipino delicacies in the kitchen. We would then resell them to friends and family for extra income. I say life is ironic because I end up working for big food as a career. So I enjoyed career with Procter & Gamble and Starbucks, building billion-dollar brands. But with most crazy entrepreneurs, I love to build, I love to create, I love food. And when the lockdowns happened, I saw an article that talked in some areas of the US, 20% of the healthcare workforce fighting on the front lines of COVID were Filipino. And that was a mind-blown moment for me. That's where I came upon all these findings about this lack of representation in the market, despite this growing trend of Filipino flavors. So during that period, in true immigrant grit, I used my stimulus check and I built the first prototypes of Fila Manila. So November 2020, we launched into retail. My first store, revenue for Fila Manila was $6,000. 2021, we expanded to $50,000. 2022, we did $400,000. And
Wait, you went from 50 to 400?
Yes.
I need to start writing this crap down. Come on.
And year to date,
Okay.
Year to date, we're about 150, but I can explain, and we're probably closing the year about 800,000. The big why, everything was in 12-ounce glass jars.
Oh.
Glass was very expensive. With the change to these non-glass formats, we moved our margin overnight to about 55% in general.
So what do they cost? What do you
Yeah,
sell them
it's-
for, and what do they cost you to make?
The pouches, we make it for about $1.60. We sell it for $3.33. And we retails for about $5.99 to all
Wow.
Jake,
our
even
clients.
if I
Wholesale.
really am excited about this, even if I trust that you're going to get to $800,000, you're at 150 to date, you're imputing a valuation of $5 million in your company. It's very rich.
How I did my valuation is that, we're the first mover in this space right now. Filipino is the fastest growing cuisine in the US. Fila Manila is actually leading all of that growth. We have 96% market share. Where Filipino cuisine is today is where Korean and
Well,
Japanese cuisine was
Jake,
7
let
years
me
ago.
push back a bit
Let's
here.
put all this in context, right? So the real question becomes, where are you selling it? Because selling it at retail is very limiting for you, because it's hard to convey on shelf unless there's a very large Filipino community,
yeah.
Yeah.
right? So how many stores are you in right now, and what percentage of your sales are online?
Yeah, for sure. So we started off in Whole Foods, one store. They expanded us into one region, and the product was doing well enough that they expanded us into 4 regions
Really?
this month. For last year, 90% of our sales were retail, 10% were online. Most of that came from Amazon.
The dish that's missing here is the nothing burger, because that's what your sales are. It's not worth $5 million. And you've got 150K in sales. I mean,
We had 400,000 in sales last year.
yeah, but that's worse. That's worse. Think about it. You're going down, not up.
Well, Kevin, this year is a transition year because
Yeah,
they're
but
moving
that's
away
what
from glass.
everybody
into,
says. It's a transition.
Look,
year.
I'm okay with transition years. Every one of us had.
Yeah, and I want to kind of bring it on me because I think from an IP perspective, I actually had someone who came to me, and she was working as like a culinary program, and she had made this it was like a dressing, and I guess the dressing got rave reviews from people within the culinary school, and they were kind of not selling it or using it, so to speak, for like campus. And again, hey man, this dressing is good. This dressing is good. And she went on. She graduated from the culinary school, and next thing you know, years later, I guess this stuff had got publicized, and her dad had reached out to me to say, hey man, can we start selling this thing? What can we do to school? Looks like they're going to be selling this thing at mass to different schools, school systems within a region. Hey, do we get a part of that? And I was like, man, a lot of that is kind of based on your contract with the culinary program. And I would imagine that any kind of contract, when you're signing to be a part of this culinary program, say, hey, whatever is made or manufactured here is the product of us, is owned by us. So I would imagine that they own all the I guess the IP, if you will, based on your daughter's work. So I guess that's something to be mindful of. But I think the number two and a bigger thing, because he was asking, can we patent this thing? And number one, when you're dealing with like recipes, you would much rather have a trade secret. Just think of the Coca-Cola recipe. Just think of the KFC recipe for the chicken or whatnot. People kind of know it's out there, but nobody knows what it is. And that's going to be a more effective than patent it. I get sure you can patent a recipe, if you will, but you got to think the patent lasts only 20 years. But if you come up with a recipe for something, to the extent that it's getting you economic advantage, or it's giving you an economic advantage to the marketplace, and it's a secret, don't nobody know it, it lasts forever as long as you keep it a secret and you put kind of things in place to keep it a secret. So for all the restaurant owners to be, or somebody who has some type of a seasoning, if you will, such as this guy, you may want to think twice about trying to patent it, because maybe even though you can patent it, it expires after 20 years. And part of a patent is you have to disclose the secret sauce on that. Now everybody will know how to do it. So you more likely than not will want to keep it as a trade secret. To the extent that you have a business, make sure you put security measures in place so that only the people who need to have the secret has it. And again, to the extent that you continue to keep it a secret and it's providing economic advantage, or economic advantage in a marketplace, it is going to last forever as a trade secret. So that's one of the things that I thought I can add value, particularly to this video, because it seems like he doesn't have a product, a technology product, or a service that, from the standpoint of he can have IP that he's protecting from a PAM perspective. But again, I think that with his recipe to the seasoning, which it seems like they love, he can keep it as a trade secret, which you don't hear a lot about often, but it is a valuable form of IP that, especially when you're talking about recipes, when you're talking about restaurant owners giving you an advantage in the marketplace, it's something that you can really take advantage of. Now, it seems like he's having another issue with the Sharks where we get back to as far as his sales and kind of, okay, does it really have a big market to the point where they can scale it, not even just based on a $5 million valuation that he has, but can you even scale this thing and to the point where the Sharks are interested at all? Let's get back to it and see. It'll be interesting. So let's get back to it and kind of see what this guy says. Let me show my screen. There you go.
That roller coaster ride.
Maybe he's raised capital already. Are you have any other investors?
We raised about 900,000.
Okay. There you go. There you go.
You raised $900,000 at what valuation?
The latest valuation was at 8 million.
How much?
$8 million.
$8 million?
Yes.
Look, you
So-
can't. Don't give him a hard time
Listen,
about that.
I'm not.
So-
He's actually giving us a break at this
This-
moment.
Everything's
I,
a down
I,
round these
I know
days.
this is a Shark
Where I
Tank.
see your biggest problem, one is that you did come in asking 4 or 5% for $250,000 and you don't have a lot of sales yet. And your second biggest problem is for people to know what is Filipino food. I had no idea sitting here. And getting that out there is going to take a tremendous amount of time and energy. But I don't hear you talking about a direct plan with how you're going to get people that are not the Filipino community to understand or want to try Filipino food. And unfortunately, because I didn't hear that, I'm
Lori, before
sorry.
you go out,
I'm
can I
out.
share with you our plan? So the plan, we're hoping to use the investment to create content to support exactly
Yeah,
what
but
you're
see,
saying,
that-
to
that's
showing
exa-
food.
Too
That's
late.
the worst approach. I don't think that there's demand there. You're not telling us that, there's so much demand and you had to change over and everything's back ordered and sold out. That's not what I'm hearing. And so for those reasons, I'm out.
All right, so listen, it's gonna be hard for me to, I got a really bad heartburn right now. It's gonna be hard for me to have that passion to talk about it on something that I just can't eat. I wouldn't be able to be an advocate for it because I just can't eat it. And unfortunately, I'm out. It
Just
is
talking about the
delicious,
spices
but
are
I'm
pretty
paying for
good.
it right now.
Okay, so I'm just looking at the numbers. I'm a numbers guy. 400,000 last year. We're halfway through this year. You're 150. You'll be lucky to be flat this year. You are so not worth $5 million. I'm sorry, my friend. I'm out.
I think as an entrepreneur, you are extraordinarily credible. I want to work with you. The most generous that I can get to is 20%. I know this is going to be a roller coaster ride, but I'd love to ride it with
There
you.
you
Your
go.
valuation just got crushed. That's a 1.2 million valuation.
Daniel, it's very kind of you. I mean, what you built with Somos is amazing, and with the
I'm not hearing you say yes, and that's
Yeah,
insane.
what are you waiting
Well,
for?
wait a second.
I drew
It's
some
a
inspiration.
dream come true.
I drew some inspiration from Lori. So every season, I like to award my golden ticket
Oh my
to
God.
one of my favorite sharks, and it says royalty.
Ah.
So
Did
Daniel,
I hear royalty?
so to help you mitigate some of the risks, would you consider, and this is open to other sharks as well,
Whoa,
What?
what do you mean?
Wait a second, Daniel.
Well,
I think
Daniel,
that
would you
says
consider,
royalty.
what if I were to give you a royalty of something like
Oh,
5% of
Kevin
wholesale,
likes royalty.
8% of online sales, until you recoup your initial investment of $250,000? In exchange, we could do it for 5% equity.
Jake, to put a royalty structure in this, I think is very unhealthy. I don't think it's the right thing.
Oh,
for
not so fast. I'll tell you, I'm interested all of a sudden.
Jake.
Let me make you another offer that you should consider, okay? Ready?
Kevin likes the word royalty.
4 sharks are out. Jake has an offer on the table from Daniel for his Filipino food company, Fila Manila. But Kevin may have changed his mind when Jake mentioned a royalty.
Chef Wonderful is now intrigued, okay? I'll do that royalty percentages, but I want to make back 500,000. So I double my money and I'll take 10% equity. Why be
Whoa.
greedy?
Jacob, you open the door, a dung beetle walked
10%
right in,
royalty.
right? And you don't want to answer the guy?
I'll do that
That's
deal.
what you wanted, right?
Get 500
Put the
back.
power of Chef Wonderful behind this brand. I like it.
Well, Jacob, what do you
Kevin,
think of
thank
that?
So Kevin, thank you. I think, this brand represents the community where I'm from. And, as a community, we
Well,
work too hard to.
I'm an honorary Filipino. You didn't know that.
Yeah.
So are you turning him down?
I would like to hear Daniel's answer to my proposal.
You're the Rodney Dangerfield of Shark Tank, Kevin.
I can't do it, Jake. I looked at the numbers. I think I'm really stretching with the 1.2 million evaluations, assuming your last year's sales come back. And there's just, what I would do is I would do it at 20%, but I would agree with you on setting certain set of challenges that if you meet them, you get 5% back.
Is that your final offer?
That's my
Daniel, I'd be a fool if I didn't accept. You have a deal. Thank you so much. Oh,
Good for him.
He didn't even look at Kevin.
I like my deal better.
We're gonna change the world.
Now let's look at this guy's website. That's pretty interesting. That yeah, 900,000 for, he said, an $8 million valuation, and all of a sudden it gets chopped into a $1.2 million valuation. So that sucks. But let's look at his website. Here we go. So I guess one of the things, again, that I like to see on the website is the fact that you are protecting your IP. Now, again, this is not a patent, obviously, as I talked about earlier. So he would not have that listed at the bottom. But one of the things that I am kind of seeing that I have a big issue with is on Shark Tank, he had the Fila Manila. He had that. It seems like that's a registered trademark. So he had the R in the circle on the props in Shark Tank, but I'm not seeing that showing as a registered trademark on his website. So that's a big thing, man. You want to make sure that you are announcing that, hey, my IP is protected. If you have a patent, again, I would definitely suggest that you kind of put it in the bottom at some point. To just, you can even say, hey, we have a patent pending or whatever the case may be. Again, this seems like for seasoning recipes, so you won't have a patent on it. Most likely to be a trade secret. Hopefully he is talking to an attorney to talk about how he can protect the trade secret, because you do have to put protections in place, security measures in place for it, as I talked about earlier. But to the extent that he has the trade secret, obviously you don't want to put that on your website. But again, the Fila Manila, he had, it seems like it's a registered trademark based off the R in the circle at the bottom that was on Shark Tank. So the fact that he's not showing it as a registered trademark here is a big thing. I would definitely want to do that. It seems like decent, just some ingredients. So man, I'm glad that this guy kind of did a deal with Kevin O'Leary. I mean, not with Kevin O'Leary, with Danielle. Hey, look, it is interesting that Mr. Wonderful tried to come back in when he talked about a royalty. It seems like that didn't work, or at least he didn't accept the royalty deal that Kevin proposed. Hopefully you got something from this video. Again, I'm, as a almost 10-year intellectual property attorney, trying to provide you guys value. I thought this was interesting, although I knew as I kind of looked at it that it probably won't have a patent on things or patent pending, just because it's a recipe as opposed to an actual product. I thought this would be value, and it was worth doing, for the simple fact that, again, when you talk about recipes, you can have a trade secret on that. Just think about the Coca-Cola with the soft drink. Think about KFC, the recipe, the seasoning for the chicken. Even Chick-fil-A, I would imagine that they have some type of special recipe. So even though you're showing the ingredients, which you have to do, it seems like by law these days, show the ingredients for the food or for the recipe or the packaging, the seasoning mix. It doesn't give you different proportions or kind of how you're doing it in a way that kind of makes it, give it that umph that we all love. So the fact that it seems like they all love the product when they tasted it, and this recipe, a seasoning mix, it seems like he has some potential trade secrets there. So hopefully I'll see these things on the shelf someday. I'll definitely look to maybe buy it and try it out. I am a big chicken guy, so if it's something that I can put on chicken that's tasty and even have some spice, I may be interested in it. But again, please let me know what you thought about this video. Leave a comment, give it a like. If you liked it, leave a comment on what you liked about it. If you didn't like it, heck, leave a comment on what you didn't like it. I'm trying to provide you guys value from an intellectual property perspective on this stuff. And please subscribe to the channel, Invest in Intellectual Property with Dave. And I'll see you next time. Take care.